go, baby!
Good evening, Oakland and beyond. Hope y'all are doing all well out there in the town, the East Bay and beyond, wherever you are tuning in from. Man, got a lot to talk about on this, and not, unfortunately, a lot of positive stuff that will be discussed on this edition of the show. And again, apologies for this not taking place 2 days ago like it was supposed to. We were having some electrical issues here at the new Dub 6 Studios, and just want to make sure I didn't blow out anything. Didn't want to piss my landlord off and risk any issues with that, so that's why we're coming at you right here, right now. And hey, you already know, given the fact that it is a Monday, you know what that means. Yes, of course, ladies and gentlemen, it is an edition of Monday Night AFR. Raw is Oakland, the first of two consecutive Monday night editions of A's Fan Radio. And it is, of course, also show number 277, the PlAyoff editions of A's Fan Radio. What's going on down, everybody, is, of course, I had to make sure I get that damn logo out of the way and forgot to. Yeah, I'm already running off stuff, fumes and whatnot here. But anyway, what's going on, everybody? It is legally 5150 Corporal Right Field Asphalt checking in from the new Dub 6 Studios located up in the Eastmont Hills overlooking the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum. Just very, not necessarily mad, I guess you can say. Mad's a little bit of a word that I got too much to using as a youngin'. More disappointed with what we'll be getting into discussing as far as how your Oakland Athletics fared in their ALDS matchup, and obviously a lot of other stuff to discuss in regards to that, and potentially where the team goes from here, and some other developing news that, of course, has popped up over the course of the last couple of days as well. Before we get on further into things and obviously address some passings that have happened recently, and, of course, the four individuals that tonight's broadcast will be dedicated to, checking in, of course, from the Boss Pad over in Alameda is the other half of what's become known as Internet Radio's most dynamic duo. It is the main man, the Boss Man. Boss, what up?
Man, argue with J-Cats and idiots, though, who don't understand, having respect for the 510, which I always have. The 510 will always reign supreme in my mind and in my heart, regardless of a ball game. That there is always number one. Keith, it's your home, it's my home. It's made us who we are. You know what I'm saying? We're not tolerating it under any circumstances, but I'm good. Got my little drink in my hand, ready to talk about, which is not always the most funnest thing. We've done it a few times on the show, and there's going to be some harsh stuff I got to give to a lot of people on here, but it is what it is, man.
Definitely going to be a interesting night of sorts to discuss topics here on the show. And, of course, obviously, before we get into recapping what went down with your Oakland Athletics in their ALDS matchup, and obviously, of course, we'll look into what went down with some of the other divisional series and what's going on as far as the championship matchups are set up. Obviously, some deaths went down in not just the baseball world, but the music world as well since the last time we came at you for an edition of the show. Of course, big three name individuals who were Hall of Famers in Major League Baseball passing away within the last 12 days, 10 days, a little over a week or so since we did our last broadcast. But, of course, pitcher Bob Gibson passing away roughly a little over a week ago. Longtime individual who was a pitcher, of course, for many years with the St. Louis Cardinals, member, of course, of Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame, and another pitcher, of course, as well, that passed away within the last week or so was Edward Charles Whitey Ford, who, of course, had many great years with the New York Yankees. And, of course, the other one that passed away yesterday evening, who, of course, is very familiar to many of us here in the Bay Area, of course, is Joe Morgan. Yes, he was born in Texas, but grew up and spent the majority of his early childhood out here in the East Bay. Of course, was a part of the Big Red Machine Cincinnati Reds in the 70s that won a couple of World Series and, of course, faced off with the A's in that 1972 World Series that led to the first of 3 rings in a row for your Oakland Athletics. Joe, of course, spent some time outside of Cincinnati with the Astros, played some time with the Giants, and he also, of course, played a season here with the Oakland Athletics. And, of course, over on the music side of things, the great Eddie Van Halen succumbed to cancer a little over a week ago as well. Just hard hits continue to keep coming at just, the sports world, the music world. We've said it, unfortunately, plenty of times on the show, especially with a lot of these greats, not just in the sports world, but the music world that have been around in the last couple decades. You're unfortunately going to see a lot more of this happen, but it's like just in the year of COVID and just everything that's going on, it seems like that the hits have come even harder. Boss man, your take on the passing of Bob Gibson, Whitey Ford, Joe Morgan, and Eddie Van Halen?
Man, I've said on the show many times, I'm going to say it again. All of our legends are dying. All of our legends are dying. And it's sad. It's troubling. Because in a world now where creativity and individuality are mocked, shunned upon, these guys were giants in their time. I mean, you talk about Whitey Ford being part of the Yankees, story franchise in the history of sports. You talk about human stuff in England, Spartaco, whatever. Nobody's story is the Yankees. Do we like the Yankees? No, but you got to respect what they've done in the history of sports. Joe Morgan, I mean, that's still an Oakland legend. I mean, people said it before. Him and John Miller on Sunday Night Baseball, for years, we were accustomed to listening to those guys go back and forth and just putting out so much knowledge for young people such as myself that made us pretty much fall in love with the game. We always loved the game, but those guys are part of the soundtrack of your life. I don't want to take the dick back, but those guys truly are. And I'm gonna miss thinking about the times you're not on no more, but I miss them. But I'm just gonna miss the fact that that guy's not there to break things down. How critical he was on Billy being the A. He was really hard on American League style baseball. But you appreciate somebody like Bill, especially somebody who comes from this area that got his degree later on in life from Cal State East Bay. A guy that's really invested and just loved this community. He tried to be part of the team. I don't know, it was with the Greenhouse guy and the dude who saved Mark was trying to buy the A back in the 90s or whatever. I mean, the guy really loved and really cared about this place, man. So my heart goes out to Eddie Van Halen, man. All these musical legends died, man. I mean, you really got me. There's so many people his music has touched over the years. You can just see the outpouring. 65, he still had more time. He still had more wisdom to impart on younger people. And cancer sucks, man. It's so devastating. It devastates a lot of families. We all have to deal with it in some shape or form. And there's not a lot of interest as to why. It just happens. It's a part of life. But, I'm pretty sure Eddie would not want us to cry for him. He's lived a great life. Been famous since the 70s. Got to see the world. Got to influence a lot of people. And, and at the end of the day, that's what all of us are hoping to do, is to leave our mark on this planet with whoever, whether it's a broad spectrum of people or just people that know us. You want to leave an indelible positive mark. And I thought Mr. Van Halen did that. So, condolences to him and his family and anybody else, man, who's lost. It's just 2020 is probably the year, man. And hopefully we get through this year. I want this year to be over with. 2021, get some happier times, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in a moment of silence for Bob Gibson, Whitey Ford, Joe Morgan, and Eddie Van Halen. Thank you, fellow Oakland Athletics fans. Welp, It's the part that some of us have probably been dreading to want to look back on, but hey, we got to do it. It is what it is. You know, it's part of what we do here on this show. Good or bad, we have to take a look back at stuff that your Oakland Athletics did as far as game action goes, and that, of course, obviously includes what went down a little over a week ago down at Chavez Ravine up above downtown Los Angeles, as, of course, the Oakland Athletics serving, of course, as the home team, or having home field advantage, if you want to say whatever it is, for this American League Divisional Series matchup, faced off against a familiar opponent and a team, of course, that has been dogged by everyone in the baseball world outside of course, their hometown, it seems like. And I'm, of course, talking about the Houston Astros in this best of 5 series matchup that, of course, went down beginning on October the 5th. So, like I said, just basically a little over a week ago from today is when Game 1 of this best of 5 series went down. And let's go ahead and take a look back at what went down in that first game of this best of 5 matchup between Houston and Oakland. Oakland would get on the board first in Game 1 of this series matchup when they would plant the first 2 runs of the game in the bottom of the second inning. They would also score a single run in the bottom of the third before the Houston Astros would tie up the game with a 3-run spot in the top of the fourth. That tie game would be short-lived, however, as in the very bottom of that inning, your Oakland Athletics would add on a single run. They would also add on to that lead with a single run in the top of the fifth, only to see that lead get taken away from them as the Astros would drop a 4-run spot on the Oakland pitching staff in the top of the 6th. They also would go on to score 1 run in the top of the 7th, and their final 2 runs of the game in the top of the 9th. Oakland would be held scoreless from the 6th inning on in this contest as they dropped the first game of this ALDS matchup to the Houston Astros by the final of 10-5. Houston 10 runs, 16 hits, 1 error. Oakland 5 runs, 8 hits, and 1 error. Taylor picking up the win as he improves to 1-0 in the postseason. Wendelken taking the loss, he falls to 0-1 in the postseason. Home runs in this one over on the Astros side, you had Bregman hitting 1, Correa hitting 2 in this one. On the A's side, you had Chris Davis hitting 1, Murph Dog hitting 1, and Matt Olson hitting 1 as well. Unfortunately, as we would see with the rest of this series, and this is one thing, hey, guys, I love Matt Olson. Pretty sure a lot of you out there as well, but I need to start seeing a lot more from this guy in the postseason. He, jokingly for me, has earned the title of Matt McGuire, because just like Mark McGuire, it's just all glove and no stick in the postseason. So that's definitely one thing that will need to change with Matt going forward. Pitching-wise in this one, Chris Bass got to start 4 innings pitched, 9 hits given up 3 runs, all 3 of those runs being earned, no walks, 4 strikeouts. Did give up 2 long balls before Pendit, Wendelken, Diekman, Trevino, Minor, Weems, and McFarland came in. So, yeah, not a very good performance for the boys in green and gold to start things off in this game. And it's even more frustrating, I think you would agree, boss, when you hold a lead like that, and, you know, a lead that normally you think would be good enough to get a win, but unfortunately the A's pitching staff crapping out, and just like they kind of did near the tail end of the season, the bats decided not to show up from the 5th inning on.
Look, Chris Bassett, love him. Had a great year. But, you know, giving up, you know, the home Bregman left the ball with the curveball, left up in the zone. Bregman was a good enough hitter to take that out, especially on a hot day when the ball was flying. Mistake. And then left it up on Carlos Ray, and the game was tied. I got worried. But the A's were able to take the lead, and then they got up 5-3. And this is the crucial play of the game. You're about to get out of the inning and get, you know, basically to the bottom of the 6th, which in turn would lead to the Astros having 9 outs. And Marcus Semien boots that little lucky bouncer from Josh Reddick. Not only does he not field it cleanly, he has a bad throw, and the wheels just fall off. The A's have had trouble hitting all year. I'm not shocked or surprised. After the 5th inning, they elicited no threat for the Astros, and you're down 1-0. Very disappointing in the game. I felt the A's would have won. I mean, that bullpen is good enough. That just took the air out of them. You're up 5-3 to get out the inning. Next thing you know, you're down 7-5. Scratching your head like saying, what the hell happened? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, no doubt with that. And let's go ahead now and take a look at how things would play out in Game 2 of this best-of-5 series. Game 2, of course, also happening at Dodger Stadium, as all 5 of these games would end up being if they all went 5 games. Here's what went down in Game 2 on Tuesday, October the 6th. Once again, your Oakland Athletics would score first in a ALDS series, as they would score the first run of the game in the bottom of the second inning. That one-run lead would be short-lived, however, as the Astros would answer back with 2 runs in the top of the third. Both teams would each score single runs in the 4th inning, with the Astros tacking on what would be their final 2 runs of the game in the top of the 5th. Oakland, yet again, for the second day in a row, couldn't manage to do anything else from the later innings on, as they get held to goose eggs from the 5th inning on in this one and fall into an early 2-0 hole in this ALDS as they lose Game 2 by the final of 5-2. Houston 5 runs, 6 hits, no errors. Oakland 2 runs, 6 hits, and no errors in this contest. Valdez picking up the win, improving to 1-0. Minaya taking the loss, falling to 0-1. And Presley picking up a save in this contest. Home runs in this one, you had Spring on the Astros side first. You have had Springer hit 2 of them. And Maldonado hit 1 as well. While over on the A's side of things, Crush Davis continuing to swing a hot stick in the postseason as he hits his second homer in the ALDS. And you also had Chad Pender hitting a homer as well in the 4th inning. Minaya went 4 1/3, 5 hits given up, 4 runs, all 4 of those being earned, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, and 2 long balls given up before giving way to Petit, Minor, Soria, and Trevino in this one. So, yep, already down 2-0, man. Things ain't looking too good here.
I was kept positive after the first game, this right here was upsetting. You have a lead again. A lead. Luzardo. You're up against that Leslie dude, Leslie Diaz or whatever. You have to get that out. I mean, you literally have to get that out. And, again, you don't. And what happens? Wheels fall off again. The young guy, I was worried about him. He has talent, and I still want him on my team, but I was worried about him. Because, as electric as himself can be, there's some location issues. He's young, he's 23. And I stood by what I said, people. He is not an ace. Not yet. It's tough to be an ace, but right now the guy is not an ace. Ace in that situation, getting that lead in that moment after you're down 1-0, that guy is not going to give up too much. They really going to have to earn it. You're leaving the game down, and then again the A's bats just dead. Again, no base on after 15. And you're upset at this point. And I sure went off. And, people can say what they want, about us getting hot under the collar after they lose. You know what? Goddamn it, that's the problem with this fan base. You don't get hot under the collar. You don't demand more. And this is why people can treat you the way they do at you being fans. You think in Philly that people are happy about what went on with the Phillies this year in the 60-game season, paying Bryce Harper all that money? Do you think people in Boston, they won a title 2 years ago, are satisfied with being a cellar dweller? Do you think people in New York, Queens, for that matter, or in Long Island are happy with the fact that the New York Mets stunk it up when they had a shot at the playoffs? Do you think they're happy? Do you think the Chicago Cubs fans are happy with their performance this year? Do you think the St. Louis Cardinals? God damn it, the A's have won a lot throughout their history. From Philadelphia, now in Oakland, they have over 100 years of having all-time great players, championship, all the works, all the hoopla. And you have to demand more. If you don't demand more, you're not going to get it. We are 20 years into this 21st century or whatever. You're down 2-0. You got to show some heart. At this point, it's about some heart. You're laying down to a team went 73 verts in the 2020 short pandemic year. You wanted this team. Liam Hendricks is on record. Yeah, we want them. We'd like to take them out. And I was telling people, I did not want to play the Astros in the first round, in the wild card round. People thought I was crazy, and I said they were going to beat the Twins. I didn't think the AL Central was good. AL Central got eliminated in the first round. All three teams did. Now you're down 2-0, and you know. Now, why did I say what you call it? I'm tripping. Gosh, drinking got me. It was Mania, not Lozano. It was Mania. I'm tripping, guys. Sorry about that, guys. My brain is over here a little off. But yeah, Mania. You know, sorry about that, guys. I mean, Mania, as much as I like him, you know, he's throwing 92, 91, and if you miss your spot against them, they're gonna get you. You know, that was difficult in itself right there. Lozano's the next game, and I'll get to that, though. Go ahead. My bad, guys. Jesus Christ.
Hey, don't feel bad, man. We all make mistakes. Even guys like Ken Korak and Vince Cotroneo make mistakes. So
I was like, wait a minute. I was like, no, that was Mania. That was Mania that was Mania, and that happened a week ago.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Mania showed the ability to get through the lineup one time, but this year he's shown difficulty getting through the lineup a second time. They're smelling when you're going to throw the changeup. It's going to sit. You're not going to usually throw the changeup in the zone. But when you throw your fastball, which might reach 92, it was hot, but normally it's 90. Man, 90 miles per hour guys are pulling that. You know, especially I think Promenade is the type of guy when he's missing his spots, his frustration shows, and he leaves the ball up and he goes, man. It was difficult to see, man. It just really was. You know, they got a lead again and squandered it.
And, of course, as we would ultimately end up seeing, pretty much that would be the case with this entire series. We'll get further into that, of course, as we get through all this, but one game at a time. And let's go ahead and get into the recap of Game 3, where, yet again, it's your Oakland Athletics with their backs up against the wall, just like they were in the previous round, except the only difference is they're down 2-0 at this point versus 1-0. And would the Astros end up clinching, or would the A's end up basically being able to live to fight another day if you somehow missed out on what happened? Here's what went down on Wednesday, October the 7th. Oakland would score first in this contest, as they, of course, would be the road team for Game 3 of this ALDS series. First run of the game, yet again, so this is all three games to this point so far where your A's would end up scoring first. The Houston Astros, though, would quickly answer back with a two-run spot in the bottom of that first inning before Oakland would knot the game up at 2 with a single run in the top of the second. A little over 2 innings later in the top of the fourth, the A's would take the lead with a single run and would add on to that lead with another single run in the top of the fifth before the Houston Astros would drop a 5-run spot on the Oakland pitching staff in the bottom of that fifth inning. So basically at this point, it's already looking like great. Here we go again. We're about to get bounced. We're not even going to end up winning a bloody game in this series. The Oakland Athletics, though, on the other hand, decided, at least for this one, let's try to get through this and knock them out. And shockingly, somehow, they found a way to do that, as they would score 3 runs in the top of the 7th, and their final 2 runs of the game in the top of the 8th. It would actually hold on to the lead in this one and prevent the Astros from scoring anything after the 5th inning, as the A's finally get a victory in this ALDS matchup, winning this game by the final of 9-7. Oakland 9 runs, 11 hits, 1 error. Houston 7 runs, 10 hits, and no errors in the contest. Liam Hendricks picking up the win for the A's, and Riley taking the loss for the Astros in this one. Home runs in this one, you had Tommy LaStella hit 1, Mark Hanna hit 1, Matt Olson hit 1 as well, Marcus Semien going deep, and Chad Pinder, who I jokingly dubbed the winner soul draft this game because just with the way his hair looks and his facial hair is gone, given the fact that a lot of these guys, just like us, probably don't have any access to barbers or whatnot. Chad Pender out there looking like Bucky Barnes now, going deep in this one. And Pender hitting a bomb, by the way, that home run that he hit late in the game. Over on the Astros side, you had Jose Altuve hit 1 and Diaz hitting 1 as well. Jesus Luzardo got the start in this for the A's, went 4 1/3, 5 hits given up, 4 runs, all 4 of those being earned, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, and 2 long balls surrendered before giving way to Petit, Diekman, and Hendricks. Boss, your thoughts on Game 3 of this ALDS?
Okay, this is the game where Luzardo, could not hold on to the lead. And, I'll just explain on the next one. But, the guy is going to have to work on his control, know how to keep the ball down, know how to pitch the guy. It's not enough to have electric stuff. Now, you got to know how to have pinpoint accuracy at this level. Know your strengths and know your weaknesses. But, Chad Pender with a game, 3 for 4, and then 3-1 blast. They refused to lose that game. I mean, Razor Ramon getting that double, which basically set up the sacrifice fly that brought in 2 runs. And, Liam Hendricks coming in pitching 3 innings. I mean, just giving it his all, though, man. I appreciate that guy so much. I don't know if he's going to come back next year, but I appreciate that so much. That's such a gutsy effort. Throwing that heater that was hitting 100. I mean, he was throwing with savage aggression. Like, I'm going to make sure that we win this game and we fight to play another day. Marcus Simeon was clutch as well to start off that 3-run inning, catching Josh James and just a simple base hit, because the A's are having trouble hitting the fastball against any pitcher really in the postseason. So, I mean, shout out to Marcus Simeon, who has played well in the postseason. Guys from the area making things try to happen the best way he can, trying to redeem himself from the bad era that he had in game 1. Just really, really proud of those guys to fight. And that it's all about heart. I love the fact that when they were down 7-4 and Loiano was in the dugout and getting guys fired up. I mean, and before the game, I guess Melvin said the guys are being too laid back and just sitting there, no energy. Bob Melvin, you need to have the guys like that all the time in the postseason, because I was very upset whenever the Astros would score. Man, they over there, hooting and hollering, slapping fives, and, the dugout was full of energy. As good as Bob Melvin has been for us in the last, 10 years, let's say, I don't like the laid-back stuff because I'm a high-strung individual. I wear my emotions on the sleeve. I don't apologize for it. Men, and I said it on Twitter, men need to be inspired and challenged. And it's not just a sport. That's just anything. Otherwise, we're not going to be shit for you. I don't care what it is, a job, for a kid, for a woman. Like, if we don't have any inspiration or any real challenge, man, we ain't about to go all for it. So I was happy to see that they were able to get a big victory, and it sets up a game 4 for all the pressures on the Astros that if they lose this game, the Astros lose, man, they're going to be feeling real tight for game 5.
Would the A's be able to force that game 5, or did their win in game 3 ultimately just delay the inevitable? Let's go and take a look right here, right now at what went down in game 4 of the 2020 ALDS between your Oakland Athletics and the Houston Astros. Yet again, just like in the previous 3 games, your Oakland Athletics would score first. They were, of course, yet again the away team in this game, as they would score the first 3 runs of the game in the top of the second. Basically, from that point forward, it kind of looked like, a little bit maybe to some of us that maybe they would hold things out. It would be good to go. Well, the Houston Astros had other plans, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen. They would drop a 5-run spot on the Oakland Athletics in the bottom of the 4th inning. The A's would come within 1 with a single run in the top of the 5th, only to watch the Astros go on to score 2 runs in the bottom of that 5th inning, 2 runs in the bottom of the 6th inning, and what would be their final 2 runs in the bottom of the 7th inning. The A's were held scoreless from the 6th through the 8th inning, and were able to get on the board in the top of the 9th with 2 runs, but obviously 2 runs wouldn't be enough to add up to things, and ultimately that Game 3 win did just basically delay the inevitable, as the A's lose this game and the series to the Astros, dropping this game by the final of 11-6 and losing the series 3-1. Houston 11 runs, 14 hits, no errors. Oakland 6 runs, 11 hits, and 1 error in the contest. Javier picking up the win in this one for the Astros, while Frankie Montas took the loss for the A's in this one. Home runs in this contest, the only home run being hit in the only 2 home runs being hit by the Oakland Athletics in this game, All of those, both those home runs, came off the bat of Razor Ramon Laureano. While over on the Astros side, you had Brantley hitting 2 in this contest, Correa hitting 1, and Altuve hitting 1 as well. Montas got the start, went 3 2/3, 7 hits given up, 5 runs, all 5 of those runs being earned, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, and 2 homers given up before Wendelken, Minor, Trevino, Soria, Diekman, and McFarland came in. So unfortunately, yet again, Oakland Athletics fans, it is another postseason that ends in pain. Fuck! Boss man, your thoughts.
Well, Ramon Laureano, Razor Ramon, hitting 2 jacks in there, man. You know what? The guy struggled, but, to come up big like that, to bring your bat finally and kind of show some fire for him like you did the day before. I can't do nothing but appreciate that guy, man. Baseball's tough. Guys got a second report on you and everything, but when you show heart like that and you show fight, I can't do nothing but respect you. But I really think the game was lost in the 4th inning on the Altuve at bat. Frankie Montas was pitching masterfully. It was a beautiful performance those first 3 innings. Your 3-2 count or the 2-2 count, your fastball has been working. Don't try to throw any off-speed. You go with your money pitch against Altuve in that situation. You were supposed to go with your fastball. And when he walked him, I said to myself, oh, shit. You know what I'm saying? Man. You just saw it unraveling. And I texted somebody, I said, he's about to unravel right now. And you could see it. Gave up the homer, made 3-2. And this is where the criticism is coming on Bob Melvin. Bob Melvin, I know Billy Beane is a tyrant. He controls a lot of what you do. I know your bullpen was taxed. You were supposed to immediately, when the first runner got on after that 2-run blast, you were supposed to start warming up Mike Minor or somebody else. You were supposed to start warming them up and get them out there immediately. I mean, I probably would have did it after a 2-run homer. Start warming them up, and if he can't get out of this inning, okay, he's done. But when Carlos Correa came up, Carlos Correa was hitting fastball. Why do you think he was able to hit the fastball? That fastball was kind of high in the zone. It was up in the zone. For you to hit a fastball up in the zone like that, you were waiting on it. He knew it was coming. And we know the Astros, just like anybody, if you know a certain pitch is coming, you're a professional hitter, you're going to whack it. The game was over from that point. As soon as he hit it and he started doing that extra dumb shit that he does, the game was over. I knew it. You know, when Laureano came the next inning and got a home run, I'm like, nah, this ain't it today. You know, and guys came in, the score ballooned up to 11-4. You know, they tried to show some heart in the later in last inning. You know, they tried, but call a low strike on Chris Davis, who after the first 2 games of the series, kind of showed his worth. He struggled the last 2 games, but I'm not gonna knock KD. He did his best. He was out there really not having fear. I can't say the same for Matt Olson. Matt Olson didn't show me enough.
Matt Olson? You mean Matt McGuire?
And I like Matt Olson, don't get me wrong, but he did not show me the necessary skills to be a primetime player in the postseason. I think regular season he's excellent. I still want him on the team, but he has not shown that thus far. And I believe so we had 3 games, so we had played 7. So in 9 postseason games, I haven't really seen Matt Olson, show us exactly what he's really working with as a player, though. Is that you got Rob in this game. He's not showing me enough. You don't show the ability to really get a swing where you bring your hands in more. If he doesn't get full extension out, an inside strike, man, you can really get him if he doesn't catch it early. I mean, it's just one of those things that he has to work on. He's a young guy. I still want him on the team. There's stuff he has to work on. The bullpen really let the A's down in this series. They just did. Whether it's Rendelkin, Minor got hit a little bit, but Minor really wasn't bad. But just collectively, guys really were not there. Starting pitching wasn't there. Weems, anybody who came out just were not good enough. And it just makes me wonder, and people always second guess, why did you use Fires? Were you scared to use Fires? I don't think it would have made that much of a difference because Houston came out with the goal, we're better than this team, we'll beat this team's ass. And this is going to be messed up what I'm going to say, guys. The Oakland A's in 2020 were not the division champions, in my opinion. The team who won that series was the division champs for real. You can't tell me if it was a 162-game season that we were going to beat that team. Whether they had Framber Valdez or Javier Christian, they showed that the A's collective lineup can't hit a fastball. From 95 to 99 miles per hour, the A's can't hit a fastball. And that's not easy to do, don't get me wrong. I know it's not. But the A's can't hit a fastball, guys. The fundamental thing, the only guy who could really hit a fastball and he obviously was hurt was Matt Chapman. And he was pissing me off this year, but evidently his hip was hurt. He was playing with that all year. But, you have your dog out there. I mean, and until that changes, I don't care what team you get to win 104 games in the regular season. The playoff pitching is always better. Everything is more scrutinized. The game is smaller. I mean, you look at the game one against Matt Giolito in the Chicago series. Man, he had a perfect game through 7 or whatever, a perfect game because you guys could not hit the fastball. I mean, you look at the teams that are still alive now, the Dodgers, the Braves, the Astros, and the Rays. Those teams can hit the fastball. You saw it the other night when Boso, what was the name for the Rays, Chapman threw that fastball. He turned on it. That's what the A's are going to need. They need guys that no matter who your pitcher is, I can smack the best pitch. A's are not showing they can smack a guy with electric stuff. Now, if there's a guy pitching 92 miles per hour, doing off-speed stuff and tries to be an intellectual type of pitcher versus, just a straight brute guy out there, a straight, rapscallion, I'm going to challenge you, throw a country fastball. A's can beat those cerebral type pitchers. In most cases, I'm not scared of them. That's why they were hitting Greinke like they were. But somebody who throws electric fastball, they had rookies coming out there throwing fastballs on the A's, and the A's couldn't do anything with them. They couldn't do anything. So the question is, where do you go from here, Keith? What do you do? Billy Beane has a lot of questions to answer, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get to that.
Well, obviously, yes, there's going to be a lot of questions he's going to have to answer as far as what moves are going to be made going forward, who's going to be brought back, who isn't, what's going to be going on as far as the payroll. And the other possibility, though, as well, Billy may not be the one making those decisions or answering on that because here we are, we're not even, not even a week removed from being bounced, and you already got news flying around off the hinges here in Oakland. You got reports coming out of Billy Beane's investment group, forgot what the name of it is, but some group that he's involved with in the sports world, getting set to possibly merge with John Henry's group over there that runs the Boston Red Sox. Apparently, if this merger goes through, Billy's not going to be involved with anything with the Red Sox. It's more heading towards probably what Billy's always wanted to do. For those of you, of course, that don't know, I always forget if it was in the A's magazine or with Slusser or one of the beat writers, but sometime within the first 5 years that Billy was the general manager of the A's, he made it no secret that his dream job was to eventually run a Euro soccer club. And let's face it, he's basically using this move, if it goes through, to ultimately springboard towards getting involved with the Liverpool team over there. So a lot of questions going on with that. You now obviously, of course, within the same article that Susan Slusser put out today in regards to some of this stuff going on, you have reports of members of the front office being extremely frustrated and basically pissed off at John Fisher for the way things played out with the furloughs, everything that happened with not wanting to pay the minor leaguers. So with a lot of this stuff going on, it's starting to bring into question, potentially, is a sale maybe on the horizon?
You know, before we get to the sale, Billy Bean, I'm here to say it now. I don't care if you're listening on this, which you wouldn't, if you don't care what I have to say. But if you were in my face, I'd tell you the same thing. It's time for you to go. 2000, 2001. 2002, 2003. Failing the last weekend of the year at home in 2004 during the division versus the Angels. 2006, you won a series finally, but you get swept by having home field advantage in the ALCS. You don't get to the penny. You win the game. You got swept. You got boomed. You get rid of Ken Maka and you get your best friend Bob Gibson, and he runs the team to the ground. The A's are just absolutely just horrible to watch. Well, that was the 2007, 2011 was just terrible. Thank God Bob Melvin took over. Fired your friend because it was just so terrible. Bob Melvin, 2012, miraculous things. Went to division back-to-back years with 2013 as well. Then Billy, I never was a big fan of you, and I didn't watch Moneyball, so I think it celebrated not winning. But July 31st, 2014, I was done with you. Your stupidity, your ego, traded your winning Cesar as an everyday five-tool player. You traded him away for John Lester for a 2-month rental for somebody that was going to get paid $20 million a year in a bigger market. You did that. And we ended up losing 9-8 or whatever in the wild card to the Kansas City Royals. You didn't have Adam Dunn in the playoff game after you traded and got him, in one of August 31st deals. A guy, bases unloaded, and obviously you decided about Melvin what he can do. Bases unloaded, score was 7-7, and Nick Puto was one of our reserve infielders. Jez Lowry comes up, your post, the pinch hit with bases loaded. You were supposed to pitch this for Adam Dunn. He never played. He never had to play in a playoff game. It was his last season at 40-something years old. Adam Dunn was supposed to come up in that game. He's only going to do 3 things in that situation. He was going to strike out, which would have sucked. But it's no different than Jed Lowry, flying out. He got out. Or he walks. Better yet, he's going to see a fastball. That thing is going to be sent out of it. The ball was flying that night. Especially as you remember Brandon Moss' home run, both his home runs. Mm-hmm. You were supposed to make that move, Billy. You got control of it. You're supposed to have a scenario set up that you control every goddamn thing. You're a goddamn tyrant. But no, that fails. Then what happens? The also after that, Moss gone. What you call it, gone. Donaldson gone. I mean, so many guys are just gone. Samardzija gone. He broke up the team, all right, and you use Ben's over to get Nanaya, and you guys got trade with Luzardo and Punk, and you did all those things, and you got this recent run. You got Chapman, also some young guys, some young talent. You won more games than you probably should have won, but you got a spunky team, and they're fiery underneath Bob Melvin. But the result is still the same. And A's fans have to demand better. You guys have a wealth of young talent, starting pitching. I mean, you have a lot of things going in your direction, and it's a failure. It's a straight up failure. Everything that you do, it doesn't work. Your Moneyball strategy has had 20 years to work. You haven't drafted any real dope pitchers that have the success of the big three. I mean, we were thinking hopefully, what's his name, Jared Parker and Sonny Gray and Tommy Malone and those other young guys, Brandon McCarthy. We were hoping that was going to be something like that. Brett Anderson didn't work out that way. It just doesn't work. And I know there's A's fans out there, and I hear you guys. What about if we turn to the Pittsburgh Pirates and we just think again? What's going to really change? You didn't win the title. You said you're quoted in that Moneyball movie. It doesn't matter if you don't win the last game of the season. Billy, you've never won the last game of the season. You've never, ever won the last game of the season. And you've been here over 20 years. I wish you the best wherever you go. It just didn't work. And A's fans have to let go and let the fear leave their body of what if we turn so-and-so. I'll tell you this. The Kansas City Royals don't have the history we have, don't have the players we have, don't have the fan base we have. They've been to 2 World Series recently. Should have won both of them. Should have went back-to-back. In Kansas City. The way this game was played, when you talk about winning in October, you need gloves, you need dynamite pitching, and you need guys that can hit the electric fastball. You're going to hit it far, but guys that can hit it. Look at the reason why the Tampa Bay Rays won close games or whatever, still able to pull it out. They can pitch. They have tremendous gloves. And a fastball is not getting past them. Not too much. The Dodgers lost tonight to the Braves. One of my predictions that probably is going to look right. I picked the Braves to win the NL. We'll see how that works out. There's still a lot more baseball to be played, but Braves can hit a fastball. Braves are shocking people with their pitching. Braves got a lot of talented gloves, a lot of young talent. Something has to change. Billy has to go. And that leads me to this, and I'm not going to spend long on it. Marcus Thompson, I think he's at a Thompson Scribe on Twitter, had one of the more in-depth, truthful articles I've ever read. It's a sobering experience to read that. I read it 3 times. Basically, you're not trying to pay more than what you're paying to win a championship and not, really make an effort to win a championship. This is no good. Am I still an A's fan? Yes. Am I still going to go to some games? Yeah, I am. And I'm still going to do this show, but I can't carry the same emotional investment in the Oakland A's if the owner does not care about winning. The owner does not demand winning. If he demanded winning, Billy Beane should have been let go or relieved of, running the baseball operations of the team. a few years ago. It should have been let go. Do you think John Fisher cares? Do you think John Fisher was like those Cubs, Yankees, or, other big-time city owners who were mad about not winning? You think he slammed something through a glass? He doesn't care. John Fisher doesn't even care to really address the thing, talking verbally. I don't want to care about no letter. I'm talking about when you actually talk to us. He sends Dave Cowell to do it, which we appreciate Dave Cowell. But he doesn't. Dave Cowell, the team president, should not want to win a title more than John Fisher. I know it's his job. He'll say, oh, he wants to win. No. The guy, I think that wasn't he a partial owner of the Giants? He's a big Giants fan. Even though the city of Oakland gave his dad, start the business with helping be, wealthy people. Nah, guys. Nah, man. I'm just, nah. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You people who are A's fans, you people are so great. I love you guys so much. I've had the greatest times of my life from the 80s till now. Heading close to 40 years in my life. That's one of the best times ever. We deserve better. And you should demand better. People are hitting me, they're asking themselves, why have I had season tickets for the last decade or so if this ownership doesn't care about winning? The A's payroll next year is slated to be $25 to $28 million. You think that's going to get it done? You're in California. You're in the number one state in the entire United States Union. And you can't do better than that? You have, probably top 8, probably top 5 richest ownership group in baseball, and you refuse to spend even a little bit more? Marcus Semien is going to be gone. Do you think they're going to sign Marcus Semien to a $70 to $210 million deal? I don't see it happening. Or even not even that. He was $130 million. I don't see that happening. They might offer Marcus 5 years, $60 million. That's about the best they'll do. But they're not going to give him the large payday that he seeks, that he probably deserves. He's improved a lot. And he showed his worth in the postseason. This is tremendously and utterly downright disgusting that this guy, John Fisher, is still owning this team after he was getting revenue sharing checks for years. Him and Lil Wolf. As a matter of fact, speaking of Lil Wolf, he allowed Lil Wolf to denigrate the fan base and disrespect the city and county. For years, for a decade, he allowed for that to go on and said nothing. Oh, yeah, if you get San Jose, get San Jose. I'm going to sell, we're on the sailboat, and I'm going to bang girls 25 years old, for the rest of my life. He doesn't care. You don't even see him at the games. How is that fair to the fans? I can't want to win more than the owner. Because this is so ass backwards. Don't you know if you win a title, your value raises more? The fact that the Royals were able to beat 2 of those World Series recently, that helped that sale last year get to $1.1 billion. That helped them. Don't tell me it didn't help them. There's value in winning. People want to pay for a winning product. They always will. Always have. That's not going to change. So, as I've been on the program at the power because I got stuff to do. I don't really have a final thought, G. There's no final thought. I thought coming into this, I would have something. I don't have anything. This is ridiculous. And then on top of it, you have the county selling their portion of the Coliseum land to the A's. Why? Why do they deserve a sweetheart deal? Why do the A's deserve a damn double subsidy for Howard Terminal, and they're not trying to win? Don't give me this crap about if you get a new stadium, we can spend more. Don't give me that crap. No, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear this shit because it's very insulting. You don't want to win. So I don't feel they deserve it. I hope the city, you guys might not like it, I hope the city doesn't give them what they want on that. Like, why? You don't want to win. And you're not even trying to build a top team lane. So why should you do it? I feel in this life, you should get what you earn. John Fisher has not earned the respect and the ass kicking done from Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf, from County Supervisor Nate Miley, from some of these other writers in papers, and some of you guys I'm cool with, but that guy does not deserve your respect. He does not deserve to get his ass kissed, especially you fans. He doesn't deserve it. Because the talk is now with what's her name, Tan or whatever name, the real estate person who left last week, Billy Bean about to get out of here. Talks of other employees not going to be there, pissed off about the furlough stuff, the minor leaguers. A Reds jumping ship? Is he going to sell? So, I asked somebody, how would you feel if you found out that he got that Coliseum land and he sold the team to go to some other place else? You'd be pissed. You got played. So, A's fans, that's it for me, though. I'm upset. I can't take this shit no more, though. To be emotionally invested and being upset about the A's when they don't care. So, I'll be getting back to you guys the next show in a couple of weeks. But talking about this has brought more anger to my soul. So I bid you guys adieu. Keith, happy trails, my man. You take care.
All right, man. Same to you, Boss Man. The Boss Man, ladies and gentlemen, signing off for the rest of the evening, which means you are stuck with my legally 5150 ass for the rest of this broadcast. And damn, we're almost up in an hour, and we haven't even taken our first break of the evening here on the show. Just my final thoughts as far as things go with this. Look, I'm not going to knock, I'm not trying to knock all these playoff appearances that we have made since the 2000s. They're obviously some sort of an accomplishment to look at, but is that really what we have wanted to get accustomed to? Are we basically okay with being the Dallas Cowboys of Major League Baseball? Look, regardless if you're someone like me who has just gotten to the point that they have tired of Billy Bean and his stuff, or if you're somebody who backs Billy still to this point, the bottom line is this, people. Regardless where you fall on that spectrum, no matter how well you do, no matter how many trips you make to the postseason, all that stuff, the way you are judged in the professional sports world, bottom line is it don't mean a thing unless you got that ring. Pure and simple. That's just the bottom case of it. And, Boss and I are not the only ones that share in this frustration. This seems to be a common thing amongst a lot of the A's fans that are basically in our age group, which is, kind of the 35 to 40 crowd and up, that grew up during the Haas era when the team was, spending money, was competitive, making an effort to try to field a playoff team year in, year out. And if you all want my honest opinion, it was something I didn't really get a chance to tweet out, and I figured I'll just save it for the show. And it was something that actually my good friend and follower of this show, John, pointed out. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart on last names at the moment. Just long day, long week. I'm kind of busy. John pointed out that potentially maybe with all these various investments and different things that Billy has gotten himself into the last couple of years, maybe the reality is Billy checked out a long time ago already and has honestly just been using the A's as a side project at this point to ultimately build up his portfolio towards, like what I said earlier, he's always wanted to do, folks. He's mentioned before that his dream job was to basically run a Euro soccer club over there in Europe. And again, that seems what he basically is using this whole platform potentially with this whole merger with John Henry's company to ultimately go towards doing stuff with Liverpool. Bottom line, though, I do agree that regardless of who's here going after, and quite honestly, I don't think we're going to end up like the Pittsburgh Pirates. A lot of people out there feel that the pieces that are in place right now will still be able to get the A's over the hump. But again, you're going to find yourself in the same position year in and year out if John Fisher does not start investing some money into this team. I'm still firmly of the belief that the reality is he ultimately is going to use the new ballpark as his get-out plan. But given a lot of the stuff you see going on right now, who knows what's going to happen at this point. It's definitely going to be interesting, and obviously we will do our part to keep you all up to date on whatever transpires going forward, not just only with this whole situation on if Billy Beane's going to be leaving or not, but obviously anything else that develops as far as things go. On that note, we're going to take our first break of the night, finally, almost an hour into the show. When we come back, we will go ahead and take a look at what went down in the other playoff matchups around baseball with the other ALDS game and the two NLDS games, and obviously also take a look at what's on tap with the National League and American League Championship Series. Don't go anywhere. Show number 277, the playoff editions of A's Fan Radio, coming right back at you in a bit. Now, unfortunately, I probably have made some of you laugh, and have also probably made some of you mad by intentionally timing that Van Halen classic for this portion of the show. But hey, y'all know how I roll. There's times where I end up inserting songs in the specific places in the show for a little extra subliminal meaning. And hey, pretty sure Jamie would be crying after what ended up going down. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is show number 277, the playoff editions of your number one source for everything and anything on your Oakland Athletics A's Fan Radio. The legally 5150 corporate right field asshole coming at you now solo for the remainder of this broadcast. Of course, Bossman was here for the first segment of this show that ended up going over over an hour, which was kind of understandable given everything that went down, of course, with the A's dropping their ALDS matchup to the Astros, and, of course, some of the stuff that has developed here in the last couple of days. Obviously, the news with Billy Beane potentially getting ready to bounce. A lot of stuff whirling around and being, potentially looked at as possible signs that maybe John Fisher could potentially be getting ready to sell the team. You got talk of members of the front office being extremely upset still because of how things played out with the furloughs and the minor leaguers and all that stuff. And a lot of those employees concerned that some of them may not even get hired back when things end up going down. It's obviously a situation that we're going to be monitoring here as well, because one thing I forgot to mention is those furloughs are supposed to end at the end of the month for a lot of those employees. And obviously a question going forward, is that going to be the case, or is John going to end up pulling some more shady crap, and is those furloughs going to get extended? So obviously that's going to be a situation that's going to definitely have some bearing and, play into what goes on going forward. And the other piece I want to put out there as well is that, and you all probably saw my post about it earlier, is if I'm that African-American business group that is interested in trying to bring the NFL back to Oakland, if y'all are listening, here's my advice to you. Y'all should be keeping tabs on what is going on with this situation with the A's right now, just in case if that opportunity arises that Fisher does end up putting the team on the market for some reason. So that way, hey, you can jump in, purchase a baseball team as part of your, portfolio to show, hey, here's what we can do to bring the NFL back. Hey, we bought the Oakland A's and did this with this and secured their future in Oakland. Just ideas I'm throwing out there, obviously, for if a scenario plays out where this team's going to be sold. There's one local investment group that can get in. Obviously, another person's name that'll be thrown out there is George Simmer. You've heard many people out there throw Joe Lacob's name in the mix, even though obviously y'all have heard Bossman and mine's points on that as much as, Lacob has the money to do it, and Lacob's talked about wanting to build at Howard Terminal. Myself, Boss, and a few others are obviously still pissed off about his involvement of moving the Warriors across the bay, so that kind of is what turns us off to Lacob. Or maybe even someone like an Larry Ellison, but obviously just speculation at this point. There is no official word about John Fisher selling the team, and just again a lot of stuff that's going to be monitored here closely. And maybe obviously if you haven't heard yet by now, I am trying to get things set up for Dave Covell to come on or do an interview segment for what would be our season in review show on November the 5th. So maybe if that ends up happening, maybe Boss and I can maybe try to get some possible insight into what's going on between now and then. So definitely keep your ears open on that for when Dave will be popping in on the show again, and maybe we can get some answers to exactly what the bloody hell's going on behind the scenes there in the A's front office. Anywho, let's go ahead and continue on with taking a look at the other action that went down in the other divisional rounds of the 2020 Major League Baseball postseason. We, of course, will quickly take a look at what went down in the other American League Divisional Series matchup that was going on at the same time that your Oakland Athletics were facing off against the Houston Astros. And that other ALDS, of course, featured a matchup of divisional opponents as well, as you had the first-seeded Tampa Bay Rays battling out against a rival of theirs from the AL East in the New York Yankees. A series that ended up going all 5 games, which is what I basically predicted to end up happening. I felt that because of the matchups and the teams that you had in this series would end up going the full 5. What I didn't know, however, is that it would not play out as how I thought it was going to end up happening. Game 1, of course, went down on October the 5th. It was a game that saw the Yankees easily dispatch the Rays by the final of 9-3. You had Cole taking the win for New York in that one, and Snell taking the loss for Tampa in that one. The next game, of course, Game 2, would be a little bit more of a back-and-forth battle between these AL East divisional rivals. The Rays would hold out on top and squeak out the win in Game 2 to tie the series up at 1-1 as they would beat the Yankees in the second game of this best-of-5 matchup by the final of 7-5. Glasnow getting the win for the Rays, Happ taking the loss for the Yankees, and Fairbanks picking up a save for the Rays in this one. Game 3 would also end up going to the Rays in what looked like basically another back-and-forth battle, as the Rays would best the Yankees in that matchup by the final of 8-4. Morton taking the win for the Rays, Tanaka taking the loss for the Yankees in that one. Game 4 would see things play back into the Yankees' favor, as they were able to limit the Rays to 1 run throughout the entire game. The Yankees, of course, taking that Game 4 by the final of 5-1. Green picking up the win for New York, Thompson taking the loss for Tampa Bay, and Aroldis Chapman picking up the save for New York in that one. That, of course, would set the table for a winner-take-all Game 5. Back and forth kind of, low-scoring affair between these two teams, but when everything was said and done and over with, the team that I thought was going to be on top when the series was over with ended up being in the L side of things, as the Tampa Bay Rays win Game 5 of that best-of-5 ALDS and defeat the Yankees 3-2. They, of course, took Game 5 by the final of 2-1. Castillo taking the win for the Rays, Aroldis Chapman being tagged with the loss for New York in that one. So, man, just a crazy series. Again, it was a series that I thought basically right out the gate was going to end up being a 5-game matchup, though quite honestly I thought that the Yankees were more equipped, and with the potency of that offense that they've had, even with the injuries they had during the shortened season, you would have thought that obviously that lineup would have propelled them through things. And obviously looks like maybe going in the next year, if the Yankees want to make a little bit of a deep run, they may want to look to have a little bit more pitching outside of just Cole and Happ, and maybe even consider looking at possible replacements for Tanaka, because just Tanaka seemed off to me in the game he pitched. He didn't seem comfortable at all to me. There were times where he did seem like he was able to command his pitches, and other times where his pitches were just completely off. And many of you, of course, know my roommate that I share the spot with at the new Dub 6 Studios is a lifelong Yankee fan himself. So he's not in a very good mood at the moment, and said basically the same thing, that the Yankees are going to have to go out and make moves to address things with the pitching staff and whatnot if they want to move forward on things. So that, of course, wraps up things for that American League Series matchup. Is, of course, the Rays take down the Yankees 3-2. Moving on, of course, from the American League Divisional Series, let's go ahead and take a look at what went down in the National League Divisional Series matchups. We'll, of course, first take a look at the matchup that went down between the Miami Marlins and the Atlanta Braves. Let's see here. This, of course, was a series that would only need 3 games to be played out. The Braves ended up taking Game 1 of this best-of-5 series by the final of 9-5. Smith picking up the win for Atlanta. Alcantara taking the loss for Miami in this one. Game 2, of course, was another Braves-sided affair and victory, as Atlanta would win that game by the final of 2-0. Anderson picking up the win for Atlanta. Lopez being tagged with the loss for Miami, and Melicon picking up the save for the ATL in that one, basically forcing the Marlins into a win-or-go-home scenario. And, of course, going into this series, the Miami Marlins had never lost a postseason series ever. Going into this, and, of course, after winning their wild card round matchup, the Marlins were 9-0 in postseason series matchups. And, of course, as we all know, in those previous trips before this year's postseason, they ended up winning the World Series, those 2 other trips to the playoffs. Well, unfortunately, now after this, the Marlins are now 9-1 in their postseason series history, as, of course, the Braves dispatched them and kept them off the scoreboard. Basically, the Marlins in this whole series only scored 5 runs, all 5 of those runs coming in Game 1, and they were held scoreless through Game 2 and Game 3, as the Braves took the final game needed to advance, winning that Game 3 by the final of 7-0. Wright picking up the win for Atlanta in this one, and Sanchez being tagged with the loss for the Marlins. It was obviously it was a series where, to me, looking at it, I thought that it was going to end up going either way. I'm not going to lie, I was kind of favoring the Marlins in this because of that, undefeated postseason history that they had playing on their sides. But hey, as we all know, some great things do end up coming to an end, and unfortunately for the Marlins, that undefeated series run in the playoffs is no more. So definitely now Miami heading back on out to the couch along with the Yankees and the A's. And one other team would be joining those 3 teams on the couch after this, is, of course, there was one more divisional series matchup to look at, and as, of course, the matchup that went down between the San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Game 1, of course, which was played on October the 6th, would go to the Dodgers, as they would win that game by the final of 5-1. May picking up the win for L.A., Richards being tagged the loss for San Diego. Pretty much would be all, well, not really all Dodgers, I should take that back. Game 2 was basically a back-and-forth battle with the Padres trying to basically fight their way and stay alive in this thing. They would be all for naught, though, as L.A. would take Game 2 by the final of 6-5. Kershaw getting the win, Davies taking the loss for the Padres in this one, and Kelly picking up the save for L.A. in this one, putting the Padres into a winner-go-home situation as well. San Diego not really showing what they had shown during the course of the year, unfortunately, in this Game 3, as it seems they used up all their offense in Game 2, as the Dodgers easily dispatch of them in Game 3 by the final of 12-3 and sweep that series 3-0. Urias taking the W for the Dodgers, and Morgan taking the loss for the Padres in that one. Not surprised, honestly, that L.A. came out on top of that. I figured that was going to be the case. I figured San Diego, or I thought at least, that San Diego was going to give the Dodgers a little bit more of a run for their money, given the whole Slam Diego backstory, all that power that they displayed the later half of the year. But I guess, unfortunately, for the Padres' case, that little Slam Diego flame finally flamed out on them, unfortunately, and they head back to the SoCal without a title and get bounced and join our team, the Yankees, and the Marlins, and everybody else that got bounced pretty much at this point on the golf link. So that wrapped things up for the National League Divisional Series and wraps up everything for the Divisional Round of the playoffs in 2020. We're going to go and take our next break of the night. When we come back, we will go ahead and take a look at how things are going down and shaping up thus far in the American League Championship Series and the National League Championship Series. Don't go anywhere, folks. Show number 277, the playoff editions of A's Fan Radio, coming back at you with more playoff talk following this break. That is, of course, if I actually remember to turn the bloody music on, though, of course. And we're back at you, ladies and gentlemen, coming at you from the Eastmont Hills, a little over a mile away from Rickey Henderson Field at the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, up here in the new Dub 6 studios. It is the legally 5150 corporate right field asshole, coming at you solo after Boss Man joined me for the first hour of the show in an hour-long first segment. Hey, it happens when you have a lot to talk about sometimes in regards to the Oakland Athletics, and especially with how things played out as of late. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to show number 277. The playoff editions of A's Fan Radio continue to roll on. And, of course, if you missed out on that little tidbit that I said as part of the A's Cast ad, yes, we will still be doing shows through the remainder of the playoffs. This, of course, was a decision that after discussing with Boss Man, we decided to make because of the fact that like I said, we wanted to make up for some dates that we lost when the whole COVID-19 shutdown happened after spring training and shut down things between basically the end of March and when the season finally ended up starting at the end of July. Obviously, that means basically we got 3 shows left pretty much at this point before we end up taking our little 2-3 week break or whatever it is we decide to do before we switch things on over into our every other week off-season format. So, other shows outside of tonight, of course, obviously, we will have another edition of Monday Night AFR next Monday night, that, of course, being Monday, April the 19th. We, of course, will have our World Series recap show going down on Thursday, October the 29th. And then on November the 5th, will be, of course, our season in review show. That is when we are slotted currently and hoping to have things set up to be able to air episode 5 of Kicking It with Cobble. Obviously, a lot of that depends on what Dave has going on between now and then. Curtis Wigington, who, of course, is a good friend of ours that works for the Oakland Athletics, is in the middle of getting things checked out to see what Dave's schedule looks like between now and then, because definitely would love to have the man we like to call Rockstar here on the show to share his thoughts and outlook on how things went from, or how things look from his perspective with how the A's played in 2020 and how he sees things going forward. And like I said, maybe there's somehow some way that we can maybe rattle and pick his brain a little bit to find out what the bloody hell's going on there with shit in the front office. As far as is Bean still going to be around? Is he going to be gone? Is Fisher still going to be here? Is he going to sell? Da-da-da-da-da. Again, man, it's just a lot of crazy stuff getting ready to go down. So again, we got 3 more regular season broadcasts coming at you between now and November the 5th before we get ready to take a good couple of weeks off and then begin the off-season editions of A's Fan Radio. Let's go ahead and begin things here on our second to last segment of tonight's broadcast by taking a look ahead, and obviously, well, kind of taking a look ahead, but also recapping some stuff, as obviously the championship series rounds are now underway in the Major League Baseball postseason. We'll go ahead and begin things off here first by taking a look at the American League Championship Series, which of course features the AL West Houston Astros battling it out with the AL East Tampa Bay Rays. Game 1, of course, happened yesterday down there at Petco Park in San Diego. Back and forth battle, low-scoring game between these two teams. The Tampa Bay Rays would end up taking Game 1 by the final of 2-1. Snell getting the win in that one, Valdez taking the loss, and Castillo picking up the save for Tampa in that one. Game 2, of course, going on earlier today. The Rays took that contest as well as they defeated the Astros by the final of 4-2 this afternoon. Morton picking up the win for Tampa Bay, McCullers taking the loss for Houston, and Anderson picking up the save for the Rays in this one. Game 3, of course, will be going down tomorrow over there at Petco Park in San Diego. Start time will be 5:40 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That game, of course, will be on TBS. Yarborough will be starting for Tampa Bay, and Enrique will be starting for the Astros. Game 4, of course, will also be at 5:40 p.m. That'll, of course, will be on October the 14th. Glasgow slated to start for Tampa Bay. Houston has yet to announce a starter in that one. Game 5, if that's needed, will go down on October the 15th. Game 6, if that's needed, will be on October the 16th. And if for some reason a Game 7 is needed in this ALCS, Game 7 would go down on October the 17th. And start times, by the way, for Games 3 through 7 are to be determined. That's obviously because you only will need to announce start times for those games if they're needed. Man, obviously, I ain't pulling for Houston in this. Screw that. Why am I going to sit there and root for the team that not only just bounced my team, but a team that just continues to, not just its players, but a lot of its fans. You know, not all of its fans, but at least it seems like the majority of the knuckleheads that make up Astros Twitter just don't want to accept the fact that they cheated. They want to continue to be a bunch of jackasses, come at people. And I'm not speaking about all Astros fans, because I'll be honest, there's actually a couple Astro fans that follow this show that are actually some pretty cool motherfuckers. I'm not going to lie about that, but the majority of the Astros fans, unfortunately, I've come across on, Twitter, or, just far out there in left field, man. I want Tampa Bay to take this. I want Tampa Bay to destroy Houston, and pretty much that's how things are looking right here, right now. But I know better than anybody. Boss, if he were here, would know better than anybody and be probably saying this. I'm pretty sure y'all out there know as well. Regardless how we feel about the Houston Astros, they may not have a lot of the same pieces there that they had when they cheated to win that World Series a little over 3 years ago, but they still got some of those guys there. And they're not as potent and as dangerous as they were 3 years ago either. But they obviously have shown that if you leave the opportunities there for mistakes, they're going to capitalize on it. So Tampa definitely cannot afford to sleep on these guys. I believe when this is all said and done, we will see the Tampa Bay Rays on top and advancing to the World Series. I'll go and say that this takes 6 games to play out, because just, I don't know, just something tells me that these bloody Astros somehow will activate the buzzsaw again and pull out a game or two in this. So, yeah, I ultimately feel that Tampa Bay does take this series, but it'll probably end up taking 6 games for it to go down. Of course, currently right now, if you missed out on what I said, Tampa currently leads the series 2-0 after defeating the Astros 2-1 in Game 1 yesterday, and, of course, taking Game 2 earlier today by the final of 4-2. Moving from the junior circuit over to the senior circuit, let's go and take a look at how things are going to be shaping up as far as the NLCS is going down. And that, of course, pits the NL East Atlanta Braves against the NL West's Los Angeles Dodgers. Game 1, of course, happened today with the Dodgers dropping the first game of this series by the final of 5-1. Smith picking up the win for the Braves. Blake Triton getting tagged the loss for LA in this one. Game 2, of course, going down tomorrow. That'll be, wow, they stuck the Dodgers in an afternoon game. That's kind of a little foobarred for fans down there in LA. Game 2 will be a 3:05 p.m. start. You can catch that game over on FS1. Anderson will be starting for Atlanta. You have Kershaw making the start for the Dodgers in this one. Game 3, of course, that's where both teams will switch sides, and the Dodgers will become the road team, and the Braves will become the home team. That also will be a 3:05 start, and you can catch that on FS1 as well. Dodgers have yet to announce a starter for that game. Wright scheduled to make the start for Game 3 in Atlanta as of right now. Game 4, where, of course, also, again, the Dodgers would be the road team, and the Braves would be the home team. Game 4 would be on October the 15th. They have not yet announced a start time for that, and currently right now that game's slated to either be on Fox or FS1, and no starters have been announced for either team in that possible Game 4 or any of the other games the rest of the way out. Which, speaking of which, Game 5, if it's needed, will go down on October the 16th and would be on FS1. Game 6, if it's needed, would go down on October the 17th and would be on FS1 as well. And Game 7, if it were to end up being needed, would, of course, go down on October the 18th. And, of course, for Game 6 and 7, it would revert back to the Dodgers being the home team. This is a series where, you got the Braves out on an early 1-0 lead. Personally, me, don't expect that to last too much long. Could be a series where it could end up going anywhere from 5 to 7 games. But I think ultimately, when everything's said and done, it'll end up being the Dodgers yet again, representing the National League, going in it for the World Series. And that'll probably end up pissing off Giants fans, and they'll, of course, sit there and hope that whoever they face in the American League ends up beating them. But, that's just the way it looks to me. Just the Dodgers were just so damn powerful and just romped all over everybody this year. Remember, they only lost one series the whole season. Yes, it was a shortened season, ladies and gentlemen, but still, only to lose one series in that, shortened season is still pretty impressive, at least in my book. So definitely think that the Dodgers will end up being on top when this NLCS is all said and done. But hey, you never know. Crazier things have happened. And we will ultimately see what happens and see if I'm right or wrong when we come back to do show number 278 next week. So, again, Corporal's pick, the Astros falling to the Rays, and that the Dodgers will end up taking the NLCS against the Atlanta Braves. But again, we'll see if I'm right or if I'm wrong when we come back at you for next week's edition of the show. And that, of course, wraps up things with what's going on with the NLCS and, yeah, pretty much. So here's basically what the playoff bracket looks like at this point in time. Obviously, just to look back at all the other playoff matchups that have gone down in the point of this whole 2020 postseason. Again, you got the Rays and the the Rays and the Astros over there in the ALCS, with Tampa currently leading that series 2-0, and of course the Braves and the Dodgers facing off in the NLCS, with the Atlanta Braves currently up on the Dodgers 1-0 in that series. That wraps things up for postseason talk on this edition of the show, but that of course does not wrap things up for this edition of the show. We come back from our final break of the night, ladies and gentlemen. It will also be time for not just my final thought of the show, but also something I've been waiting a little while to bring up here, as we will go ahead and have the first Bear Raid segment of the 2020 season here on A's Fan Radio. And of course, also, besides my final thoughts, obviously my dumb ass forgot to mention it, there is a fan question of the night out there if y'all haven't been digging around on our social media pages. So if you haven't done so yet, make your way over to either Facebook.com/A'sFanRadio or our Twitter page at A's_fan_radio to answer the fan question of the night for tonight's show, which is, we want to hear y'all's thoughts on the A's ALDS performance, what will happen going forward, and obviously as well the latest, your take on the latest news with Billy Beane. That, the Bear Raid, and my final thought coming at you here following the final break of show number 277, the playoff editions of A's Fan Radio. Whew, man, I'm surprised I even still got the energy to stay awake right now at this point. Maybe it was that cup of coffee that I slammed before the show. Otherwise, if I wouldn't have had that, I might have actually passed out during the first hour-long segment of this show. And again, like I said, hey, it happens sometimes. Obviously, a lot of talk about on this show with everything that went down. Would have been nice to have talked about something more positive, like, I don't know, the A's advancing, which would be nice to have talked about on this, but unfortunately, yet again, another year where your beloved green and gold come up short, and we'll be talking about teams other than ours making a run at the World Series. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment of show number 278, the playoff editions of A's Fan Radio, getting set to come at you right here, right now. The legally 5150 corporate right field asshole who has been solo since the first hour of the show is, of course, for those of you that missed out, our first segment ended up being over an hour long. Of course, I was joined by the other half of the dynamic duo during that hour-long segment, the main man, the boss man, as, of course, we took a look back at the unfortunate circumstances that befell upon your Oakland Athletics in their ALDS matchup, the latest developments on what's going on with Billy Beane's future with the team, and a little bit of our take on how all this stuff could be amountingly adding up to and affecting the potential future of John Fisher as the owner of the Oakland Athletics. So just, man, going to be a lot of stuff to keep tabs on and talk about on this show in the coming weeks. And, even more so when we get into the offseason, because obviously we're going to have to, talk about what moves are going to be made, who's going to be brought back, who isn't, who's a target out there. Just, wow. A lot of stuff to look forward to talking about. And we still got 3 regular season shows left before we get to all that. Before we get set to close out things here real quick, and of course, as mentioned, for those of you that haven't had a chance to yet, and I apologize that I waited until before the last commercial break to mention something about it again. You haven't had a chance to yet? Yes, there is a fan question of the night posted up on Facebook.com/AsFanRadio and our Twitter page at A's_fan_radio. So go ahead and make your way over there right now while I get ready to do the Bear Raid segment and give your response to the fan question of the night. And hey, I'll read that response when I, of course, get to the answering to the fan questions of the night. And the one for this show, of course, is we want to hear your thoughts on the A's performance in the ALDS, what you think is going to happen going forward. And also, we want to hear your thoughts on the latest developments on Billy Beane's future with the Oakland Athletics. On that note, first Bear Raid segment of 2020 coming at you. You know, usually by now we have done a couple of these segments because, you know, under normal circumstances, college football would have started up already over a month ago. Would have originally started at the end of August, in fact. Obviously, just like all the other sports out there, be it professional, college, amateur, whatever, even college football, or at least a Pac-12, got affected by COVID-19. Originally, it looked like that there was going to be no Pac-12 football this year, but ultimately, members of the Cal football and the other 11 schools that make up the Pac-12 basically got together and basically urged the various governments in the various states where these teams play at and their schools are to be able to allow them to do that because obviously, mainly for a lot of it is, a lot of them didn't want to end up having their draft value affected. I don't know what it is. In a day and age maybe where you, especially with a pandemic going on, maybe you want to consider doing something other than sports. No, I'm just throwing it out there. But ultimately, things being figured out, and there will be Pac-12 football in 2020. It just will be a little bit of an abbreviated schedule. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at that right here, right now, for any of you that may have missed out on who exactly the California Golden Bears are going to be playing in this shortened 2020 season. And this basically is actually the third schedule they put out. There, of course, obviously was that original first schedule they released after the spring, or right around the time that the spring game was going to go on, where basically, you know, it was the original full schedule. Then that got condensed down to just, the Pac-12 dates. And then the season, of course, got initially what we thought canceled or postponed. And now with this, they basically will end up only playing 7 games. Or actually, no, take that back. Excuse me. It will basically be a 6-game schedule for your California Golden Bears. They'll have 3 games at home and 3 games on the road. The season will begin on November 7th when Cal will host Washington at California Memorial Stadium. They will then go on the road on November the 14th to Arizona to battle it out with the ASU Sun Devils. The following week, November the 21st, we'll see them make the trek up to Oregon State to take on the Beavers. Friday, November the 27th, we'll see the big game played out over at Memorial as they will, of course, take on the Stanford Cardinals. December the 5th, we'll see the Oregon Ducks come into town for what would be the last home game of the 2020 season. And then Cal will wrap things up with a road game on December the 12th up in Washington State, taking on the Cougars. And then roughly around December 18th and 19th is when you would have things play out for what would be the Pac-12 championship game. And obviously, for those wondering, I haven't had a chance yet to check today because obviously we're getting things prepped with the show, checking on making sure how my blind puppo homie's doing, blindo first doggo of Tightwad Hill and other stuff going on. Haven't had a chance to check back on that. But as of yesterday, we're still waiting on word from either UC Berkeley, Cal Athletics, or even someone at the Cal football, department to let us know if we're going to be able to use Tightwad Hill or not in 2020. Now, obviously, some of you out there are sitting there thinking, really? You all still want to do that? Well, me personally, I wanted to shut down Tightwad Hill for 2020. I'll be straightforward and real about that. I wanted to close off the hill for 2020, at least initially early on, because, when we first saw what was going on, I didn't know what things were going to look like come August, September, and all that. Met with some of the guys online. We talked about things. I got overruled by the rest of the governing body of Tightwad Hill. And yes, for those of you that don't know, we have our own government kind of in place up there. I'm not just the end-all, go-to end-all shot caller up there just because I'm the governor. I actually have my own little cabinet, per se, that I work with and get opinions on. And, again, even though I didn't want, any Tightwad Hill in 2020, the rest of my guys overruled me, and we agreed to basically what would be a social distancing and mandatory face cover policy up there? Should we be allowed to go up there? But, there has been word going around that we've heard from friends of ours that there is potential talk of UC campus police potentially blocking off the hill. Though the reality of it is, let's face it, folks, there's no full-on way to block off every single inch of Tightwad Hill. But just still, regardless of what's going on, regardless if we can use it or if we can't use it, it would be nice, UC Berkeley, if we can get a damn update so that way I can let people know that have been asking me and have been asking others if they can go up there or not. One answer, one way or another. So that way I can let everybody know, yeah, it's good to go come up there. Just make sure you bring a face mask and socially distance. Or if I have to let everybody know, no, it's not good to go up there. And if you still want to go up there, it's go up at your own risk. Don't know either way yet. Hopefully maybe between now and next week's show, have an answer on that. Or if there's an answer even before next week's show, I'll obviously post it up on the Hills Facebook page and social and Twitter page, which of course you can follow Tightwad Hill on Facebook at facebook.com/TightwadHillOfficial or on Twitter at TightwadHill23. And that wraps it up for this edition of the Bear Raid segment, the first Bear Raid segment of 2020. And man, it's going to be interesting seeing a shortened college football schedule. Again, just can't blame the guys for wanting to play some sort of college football so that way they can have a shot at the draft, because you got all these other leagues and colleges playing games around the country at this point in time, and kind of understandable why the Pac-12 guys got mad, but at the same time I fully understand and saw where the school was coming from. The Bear Raid segment, of course, is brought to you by the world-famous Tightwad Hill, the greatest place on planet Earth to watch football at any level, for free, by the way, since 1923. Again, don't know for sure if we're going to have access to Tightwad Hill or not. It's basically we're in standby mode at this point until I hear something from either the school, the campus. The school and the campus would be the same thing. But basically until I either hear something from, someone at the school, someone in the athletic department, or even someone from the football team. Again, as far as we're going to be able to use the Hill or not in 2020, it's a question mark right now, but again, I will make sure to have y'all updated on that. On that note, let's go ahead now and take a look at what y'all's responses were to the fan question of the night. Of course, that fan question of the night being your take on the Oakland Athletics ALDS performance, where they go from here, and the latest news about Billy Boy. Fortunately, it doesn't look like anybody answered it over on our Facebook page. Kind of not shocked by that. It seems like y'all over there on Facebook just like to like and check out our posts and never want to respond to anything. But would be nice if y'all responded, and wow, nobody responded to the fan question of the night either on our Twitter page. What's up with you guys tonight, man? Hey, it's all good. It's understandable. You're probably frustrated and just don't feel like answering any questions. So, hey, it's all good and understandable. But, hey, just remember, we do have a fan question of the night. We at least try to throw out at y'all every night. So definitely keep your eyes open for whatever that fan question ends up being on next week's show. As always, ladies and gentlemen, for the latest information pertaining to A's Fan Radio, be sure to check us out at a'sfanradio.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/a'sfanradio. Follow us on Twitter at A's_fan_radio. Again, as mentioned, we do have a YouTube channel now, so be sure to go to youtube.com, enter the search window, and type in A's Fan Radio as one whole word, and of course, our channel will pop up on there. And of course, our next show broadcast will be show number 278 as the playoff editions continue on here at AFR, even though our boys aren't continuing on in the playoff hunt. That next playoff edition show will be another Monday night edition of Monday Night AFR, going down, of course, next Monday, October the 19th at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on the very channel you're watching the show on right now, twitch.tv/A's Fan Radio. And that, of course, finally brings the legally 5150 Corporal Right Field Asshole to his final thought of the night. Something that I saw today that kind of baffled the hell out of me a little bit, and that's the fact that for those of you that might have missed out on things, Renteria, who I forgot his first name at the moment right now, slipped my mind, I don't know how, with me looking at the story earlier in the day. Renteria, who of course is the manager of the Chicago White Sox, and the Chicago White Sox agreeing to part ways heading into the offseason. So obviously a lot of speculation and talk going on about who's going to take over the manager's helm there in the south side of the Windy City. And saw a tweet from Buster Olney of ESPN out there that literally just made me go, what the fuck are you high? That tweet being basically that he was kind of basically encouraging the White Sox to hire either A.J. Hinch or Alex Cora as their next manager. Dude, no. No. Not only no, but fuck no. Are you kidding me? You really want to allow those guys back into baseball after what they pulled with their ties to what went down with the Astros cheating scandal in 2017? You know, some people out there, they don't ride AJ as much because of the fact that, you know, it's basically looked at that AJ, you know, wasn't really directly involved, but he turned a blind eye and basically allowed this whole thing to happen. So, you know, maybe there's a little chance of, you know, maybe some forgiveness there, but in my eyes right now, nah, dude. You turned a blind eye to things, and you should be as equally judged for your screw-up in that as Cora and Beltran. And definitely in regards to Alex Cora and Carlos Beltran, given the fact that Cora was the mastermind of this whole thing, and the fact that rumor goes around that Beltran basically helped influence this stuff based off of things that he learned and saw in the Yankee organization. No. All three of those individuals, I'm sorry, should not only be blackballed from the game of baseball, they should be banned from baseball for the rest of their lives. At least in the case of Cora and Beltran, because of their severity in that stuff. You know, and that's you know, I'm hoping I'm not the only one that thought that. I mean, I saw a lot of people out there that responded to that tweet basically like, dude, so your way of basically wanting the White Sox to go to the next level is to cheat? Nah, dude. Again, Hinch should not be allowed anywhere near baseball for at least the foreseeable future, and maybe permanently. Again, maybe not so much as guilty as Cora and Beltran, but again, you could have easily stopped all this stuff, and you chose not to. You chose to turn a blind eye and let that happen. So definitely no to Hinch, and it's a definite automatic fuck no. Again, this is my perspective, obviously, if I'm the White Sox, and I'm hoping the White Sox are considering this and they're not paying attention to Ole. It would definitely be a fuck no on Cora, and it would be an even bigger fuck no on Beltran. There are better options out there. You know, there's even talks that the White Sox could be looking at bringing Tony La Russa over there, you know, which is insane. Tony hasn't managed a team in what? Almost 15, 20 years? Last managed, I think, what was it, the 2006, 2007 Cardinals? Basically went out into retirement with the World Series. There's some out there that threw out that, you know, I think, who was it? I think it was Ulysses S. Rant, who follows us on Twitter, that threw out there that basically, dadgummit, hire Hawk Harrelson. You know, there are so many other, you know, potential fits and guys that you can bring in that could run that team. And it's a team that has a playoff potential, you know, potent lineup right there. It's a team that is definitely on the cusp of great things. But I'm sorry, you bring in someone like Cora or Hinch, all you're basically going to do is allow your team to get dogged by everybody because you're bringing in guys that are tied to cheating. So definitely, if the White Sox are out there listening, probably not listening most likely, but if some of you out there are listening that are White Sox fans, or those of you listening here that know White Sox fans, that know people in the front office of the White Sox, like Boss and I do here with the A's, you should relay to those cats and tell them to relay to their White Sox front office, don't hire A.J. Hinch, don't hire Alex Cora, definitely don't fucking hire Carlos Beltran. Again, those guys should be blackballed and banned from baseball. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my co-host, the Boss Man, this is the Legally 5150 Corporal Right Field Asshole getting ready to sign on off for the evening. Y'all take care and enjoy the rest of your Monday night. Wow, my bad, y'all. I didn't realize that I left that Hunt for Green October picture in there. Fuck, I probably just made a bunch of y'all mad. Sorry. The views and opinions of our cast, our guests, and our listeners are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with the Oakland Athletics or Major League Baseball. Good night, Walter Haas. Hopefully, somehow, maybe you can make an arrangement with the baseball gods to somehow scare Fisher into spending money or selling this damn team to somebody that will. Good night, Al Davis. Fuck your bowl cut, son. Don't care if y'all beat the Chiefs. Wow. 7th time in 21 tries y'all have beaten the Chiefs. Big whoop-de-fucking-do. Fuck y'all. Y'all abandoned this city twice. I don't give a shit about y'all anymore. So, Al, you need to continue to bestow bad karma upon your bowl cut, son. Good night, Chesty Puller, wherever you may be, taking care of the spirits of the Marines of the past and the present. And, of course, good night, Auntie Di-Di. I love you. God, I wish you could have done some more magic to help us out. But, hey, maybe somehow you can help wine and dine the baseball gods and help out Walter Haas with convincing them baseball gods to scare John Fisher out of his mind to do something else. Y'all take care. Be safe. Don't drink and drive. All that same old bullshit I got told on every safety brief when I was in the United States Marine Corps, because we want to see you all right back here 1 week from tonight for yet another edition of Monday Night AFR. Again, show number 278 going down next Monday, October the 19th at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Until then, good night, Oakland and beyond. And as always, be sure to stay Oakland, my friends.
It's a celebration. Celebrate good times, come on. Let's celebrate.